evening, everybody. It's been 2 weeks, right? Or three. Yeah, I was off for 2 weeks, so here I am. I took a nice hiatus, a much needed hiatus, and I am back today. So excited to be back here with you all today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all being here on whichever platform you are on, that be YouTube, Facebook, um, LinkedIn. I'm not sure if I'm live on LinkedIn. I probably am not. But thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm super excited. Today, I am bringing you. Oh, yes, my ladies are not here today. It's going to be a little while. They're working on their lives, and Jasenia and Christina. I wish you both the best. And Claudia, of course, I know you're in the Hamptons working on a nice event. So I look forward to seeing you guys here soon with me. And of course, I'm holding it down. So don't worry about it. I definitely look forward to having you guys back whenever you guys come back. And sure, Dr. Shanita will be back at some point as well. She's so amazing, my wonderful coach and support and mentor and all of that. So anyhow, today I'm bringing you an amazing topic. I am actually going to be pretty much talking about my book today. I just recently had a book release, and so I'm going to be sharing that with you guys and the book, what it's about, who it's meant to help. Of course, it can help anybody because it is a mindset book. So it is meant to help anybody. Even though, of course, my targeted audience is victims and survivors of domestic violence, my passion is helping them get on their feet, helping them get free from the abuse that they do not deserve. Nobody deserves. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I have put it out there, I have shared it. I'm not sure how many have seen it because Facebook's algorithm is a little funky. Same with IG. Everything is a little weird nowadays. And so it is what it is, but it is out there. And I will be discussing that today. I put some information together. And FYI, I always do a little short, brief prayer before I start my show. I did that before starting my show. So I'm just going to go with the flow today. And yeah, so today we are talking about empower mentality. That is a powerful word in itself, empower. Even when you use it, you're like yourself, empowering a mindset, empowering, a person. It's an empowering word in itself. I mean, just the word empower is to me, it's just amazing. And so the book itself is called Empower Mentality. It is the program that I'm going to be running. The program itself is called Empower Mentality, a Maxwell Transformation Program. And so that's also the name of the book, Empower Mentality, Max Transformation Program or Transformation Program. The first book that I put out is actually part one. It's very short, simple, and sweet. And it just basically details, not even details, but it just lays down the steps in the process to shift your mindset. Pretty much because the transformation journey in itself is a very hectic journey. It's very transformational. And in order for you or anyone to go through the process, or the victims and survivors that I'm going to be taking through the process of a transformational journey from victim to survivor to an empowered individual in their own lives, taking back their power and their freedom, that in itself those are the steps, but it is extremely important to go through the steps of a mind shift because, I mean, the truth is that victims go through a lot when they are in that domestic violence situation. And it takes a toll inside and out. I mean, it totally takes a toll. Changes you from the inside out, changes your heart, changes your mind. And, in order for a person, and of course they're gonna have to want to go through that journey. Before that, it's a strong journey. There's a lot of steps in it. But the first book is Ignite. Well, what is it? Oh my gosh. I can't even remember the name myself. Let me go through it. Igniting. Let's go through this again. Okay. Yeah, preparing the mindset to ignite change. So that's part one of a couple. Well, part two is coming out soon. I already finished writing that. I'm just going through the editing portion of it. But that's, and I keep saying but that's pretty much part one, is preparing the mindset to ignite change. It's important to prepare the mindset for that. And this book just goes over the steps that it's going to take. It doesn't detail the steps. That's part two, and that's coming out soon. The first book is a simple step-by-step process. I mean, it details the steps in the second book. In this first book, it just puts the steps in there. The steps they're easy. I mean, they're easy. You can do it on your own with that book if you want to, if you just follow the steps. But of course, for the program that I'm doing, I detail and take it much further. And the second book is just about the details, detailing and pretty much going through each step and breaking down each step. So that's pretty much it. I'm a little out of breath. But yeah, so again, everybody, my name is Liz Jurado, also known as the Empathetic Coach. I am also the founder and owner of From Victim to Survivor, a Maxwell transformation. And so that's my program for the domestic violence victims and survivors. So the book released yesterday, August 4th. It was on pre-order for about a few days or a week, and then it just released yesterday. It is just $9.99. That's it. I would love for you guys to go, find it. But anyway, in this first segment, I'm going to discuss understanding empowerment and pretty much the program. Okay, so the concept of empowerment and its importance is extremely relative in changing, going through the process and changing the mindset and going through a mind shift, in taking survivors through that journey after everything that they have been through. It's gonna take a lot, so I break down the steps in part two, which hasn't come out yet, but it'll be coming out soon. I keep talking about part two because my head has been in that book, my gosh, nonstop every single day. And I've been really focused on just writing that book and getting it released as soon as possible, because I wanted it to follow the first one. The first one, of course, is just the steps, and the second one breaks them down. But yeah, so the core values and the guiding principles of the program. Being a survivor myself, I can't help but just have a passion and wanting to just put it out there, because of course, and I've said it many times, I've talked about it many times, not everybody survives. I mean, sadly, every day somebody is losing their life to domestic violence. And literally, domestic violence could be relationship, marriages, but sadly, domestic violence also in the home, parents, son, father, mother, daughters, or mother, son, grandson, all of that. And I say that because that's the reality of it. And we've heard that recently, of course, in the news. where there was, murder suicide. That too is domestic violence. It's extremely sad. And I am really focused on helping the victims. Well, number one, know that they have the right to be free. They definitely have the right to be free. The first step, is, well, not one of the first step, but one of the steps is also knowing that when it's time to let go of self blame, because when you're in a relationship or whatever type of domestic violence you are involved in, the one thing that abusers are so good at is putting the blame on the victim, gaslighting, all of that, and making the victim feel like they caused it. Whatever they're going through is their fault. And that gets so embedded into them that eventually they begin to believe it. And I know a lot of people don't understand domestic violence and why people stay, especially if you've never been in that situation. I get it, but that's one thing I've learned, not to judge, because of the simple fact that unless you are there, really, unless you're there or going through it, or, yeah, you're not really going to understand it. I'll have to say that everybody could say, oh, if that was me, I wouldn't even deal with it. I'd be out. I'd this, I'd that. We all say that. I too thought that would never be me, right? But when the time comes, you just, like, for instance, for me, it was, he needs help. I can help him. That's the first thing that victims carry, is the fact that they care so much. They think that they can help change this person. They realize this person is damaged. This person has pain. This person has anger. Something's wrong. Somebody did something to them. I want to help them. But in the long run, you begin to realize you can't help these people. You cannot take responsibility for helping them. That's something they're going to want. They're going to need to want. Put it that way. Need to want. They're going to have to acknowledge it. And you can't change them. I thought I could, and it took me a while. By the time I realized it, it was way deep in, and all I could do was run. And when I say run, I'm literally, like, a lot goes through your head when you are a victim of domestic violence. And I'll share just a little, right? Because this is the thing, that when a victim is going through this, they tend to take on this role of no, it's going to be on my terms. Everything's going to be on my terms. No, it's not going to get the best of me. And when you get to that point after the beginning, where the beginning stages is, pretty much, I'm trying to word it so that you guys can understand it, but I'm sorry, I'm getting feedback from my husband. As usual, you guys know my husband is great at feeding back. Yeah. Well, yeah, that definitely is. I'm going to touch on that as well. But to give you on what he shared, but to give you a glimpse into the life of a victim, right? I'll just take you into a little ride, right? I shared my story back in April, and I'll share a little bit just to give you a glimpse into the life of a victim, right? When a victim first starts, I did mention already about how they begin to feel like I can change them. I care about them. I love them. Somebody hurt them. Somebody made them angry. Somebody broke their heart. Somebody made them feel this way. I can change them and make them realize that, no, you are safe with me, right? But that's just the beginning. And that's like the thoughts that go through your head that are just not realistic, but that's the thoughts that go through your head because of love, infatuation, or whatever you want to call it. In turn, as time goes on and you continue to go through the abuse, you get to a place where now you get defensive. Now it's your way or the highway. Now it's whatever it is. I mean, I'm going to run, but I'll come back when I want, or I'm just going to run and keep on running, trying to get away. Reality is you're dealing with it. You're quote unquote trying to make yourself feel strong. You go through so much that your mindset just starts shifting. And this is going through the abuse, shifting abuse due to the abuse. But it doesn't shift in positive, because everything that you do, you become a product of the abuse. Totally. And so that being rebellious, you just, you become like that, running. And so for a victim to go through a transformational journey, because I'll tell you that even when I came out of that situation, for me, my gosh, I was just like, don't talk to me. Like nobody talked to me. And I was at a point too where I was so used to it. And I'm like, I'll go back. Really thinking that I could go back, until I came across that video on, what was it, MTV back then? How Come, How Long by Babyface and Stevie Wonder. And I realized, oh my goodness, if I go back, it's going to be me or him. But one of us is going to end up dead and the other one's going to end up in jail. And I can't go back. And that's what it took for me to realize I couldn't go back, because it was that bad. Like, my mindset was, after a year of going through it, I was getting into this realm of control myself, right? But the control that I was taking on was one where it was like, no, you're not putting me through this anymore. And I was beginning to now start taking, action back, where the man almost killed me. And now I was like, I bet I'm coming. And if I did go back and he continued on, and my rage was growing, and I was going to go after him at some point. I just know that, because I know what I was feeling when I thought I was going back. So this damages a victim terribly. To help victims go through, let me read you some of the steps that I go through. They're in the book, but that I go through. And that is before. It's like primer on a wall before you paint. Basically, you got to go through a process of a mind shift before you go into the transformational journey, because the transformational journey in itself is pretty in-depth. And so it's important to understand that mindset is everything. And so you have to take accountability, even as a victim, that it's time for you to make a change, that it's time for you to take steps forward if you want to be free, if you want to get out. And you, when I say you, I'm just talking in general, not to anybody in particular watching or anything like that. But in general, the victim, they need to make a decision. So, the journey through the program, I'm going to walk through some of the key steps of the program. I'm going to try to elaborate as much as I can without giving away too much, right? Because it is in the book. But one of the things that is important also for victims to come to is acknowledging their past experiences, completely acknowledging the abuse they've encountered, acknowledging it completely to the point of almost and literally almost reliving it. You're going to relive it when you go through a process of change. And that is extremely important, because you got to acknowledge the pain. You have to acknowledge, you have to acknowledge the hurt. You have to acknowledge the abuse. You have to acknowledge the experience firsthand, relive it. Yeah. In order for you, that way you can understand. I mean, it's so in depth. It took me a long time, but it is really in depth. You have to become self-aware of your own emotions, self-aware of the pain that you're feeling and what your triggers are. All those things have to become seen, and you have to acknowledge it first. Like, it has to come from you first, and that's the first, like, not the first step, but that's the first part of the process before going through the journey, the transformational journey, is acknowledging your experience, accepting it because you've already been there, accepting it because it's the reality of what happened to you, accepting it and acknowledging this is real. I went through this, knowing and not lying to yourself. You have to be self-aware of even the pain it caused, the anger, everything, just everything. It all has to come out, and you will relive it again, because for me to get through the trauma, I had to relive it. And I'll tell you that reliving it is not easy, but I had to relive it. And the way that I relived it, because I could not sit, like, I went to counseling for this years ago, and I could not sit there like everybody else and simply share what I was going through. I could not sit there and say, oh, I went through this and that. I couldn't share it. I couldn't talk about it. It just wouldn't come out. Just like I pretty much, and let me tell you, sometimes I still can't share it the way I want to with you all. I really can. I don't have it yet in me because I don't really talk about it. I don't share it much. And that's one thing that I know one of my panelists had shared with me when I was going through the story of my own domestic violence story. When we were doing the series on domestic violence, she had mentioned to me, the more I share it, the more I openly share it, whether I'm reading it or whatever, but the more I share it, the easier it'll get for me to share it. And that's something that I'm going to start practicing as well. Because the truth is, I don't talk about it easily. I don't go around talking about the abuse that I went through and you know, what was done to me and, you know, what I lived and how I felt. And, you know, I don't talk that easily about those things at all, like the details. But I do share it by reading my story, because I wrote the book. I wrote a book on my experience in domestic violence, my life. And so that's how I share it, by reading the book. So when I went to counseling, I knew that this is what I had to talk about. And I wrote it. I just began writing, typing it out, just typing it out. It's like 30 something, 40 pages. And I wrote that galore. Let me tell you something. When it was my turn, I brought my papers with me. I brought it. I printed it out and I brought it with me. And I sat there in counseling. And that was me reading my story, thinking it was going to be easy, as if I was reading a book, another book that wasn't even mine. And so I started reading it in front of everybody. I was in a group counseling session. It was also for domestic violence victims. And I'm sitting there in that group session, reading my story in front of everybody, not realizing that what I was reading was really bad. I didn't realize it. When I was done reading the book, everybody was just staring at me. And the counselor looked at me and said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Uh-huh." She's like, "You're in fetal position." I literally, as I was reading, I didn't realize it, but I literally read and read. And by the time I was done, I was in fetal position from reading that book. about my own life. The damage that is done is huge. But since I don't go talking about it, and so that's why, from my experience of having to deal with reliving it in order for me to come to terms with my experience and be able to help others, I literally had to come to terms. I had to relive my whole experience. And believe it or not, I mean, this is a journey that is very in-depth. I don't recommend it for everybody, right? And I won't do this with everybody. But it's part of the program that I do. And so for me, at times, even to this day, it's therapeutic for me to walk those streets of where I lived when I was going through that. I still feel it. And so is it good? Listen, it's an experience, but all of it is useful for me because I use every bit of it to help others. So in the book, the step-by-step book on igniting the mindset, preparing the mindset to ignite change, basically, first few steps are acknowledging your experience, being self-aware of the pain that you are engulfed with, the anger. You have to feel it all. You have to. As much as a lot of people do not want to feel that. Trust me, even I didn't want to feel it. But you have to feel it because you have to be able to accept the reality of what happened so that you can let go, because that is one of the other steps, is learning and knowing that it's time to let go. Beginning with letting go of self-blame. So letting go of self-blame is understanding that none of the reality of what you experienced as a victim of domestic violence is your fault. None of it. None of it. No matter what you were told, no matter what you were put through, nothing. You didn't deserve it. It wasn't right. And it's time for you to let go of self-blame. So that's another step in the process. And that is why it's so important. And in book 2, I pretty much break down each and every step, each and every single step. But let me go into, it's a pretty in-depth process, to be honest with you. And I kind of went over on some of these topics. But it's pretty much the book in itself, igniting the mindset, or I'm sorry, preparing the mindset to ignite change. It's a comprehensive guide to implementing the principles and the steps to everything that I'm discussing here. And so the book itself also provides a structured approach, for the readers to follow. There are exercises in there and reflections and actionable strategies. It's a process that I put together because it's important to realize, again, how important mindset is. Mindset is so important in everything in your life because, we teach it for leadership, for anything. Your mindset is huge because, like they say, it's what you, right. In the Bible, it even says it, as a man thinketh, so is he. Right? So that is an extremely important value to realize. Your thoughts become your reality. And so the whole process begins with mindset change in order for you to begin the transformational, or the victims to survivors to begin their transformational journey on the way to freedom and empowered empowered freedom. You know, um, I want to just, I'll name some of the steps just so that, you guys can have an idea. But I definitely want to share just a little bit of it. There are 10 steps in the process, right? Igniting the mindset to change, or preparing the mindset to ignite change. I keep confusing those two, but it's the same thing, right? Igniting the mindset to change and preparing the mindset to ignite change. Yeah. So yeah, let me go through this. So as I mentioned, right, acknowledging your past experiences is one of the steps. It's one of the steps that I talk about, and I give just a few little teasers, right, on how to do that. Acknowledging and validating your past experiences, to understand the need for self-compassion. I mean, love yourself. Loving yourself is so hard to do, especially when you are broken. And I remember that, not having that self-love. So I really didn't care. When you don't have self-love, you don't care what you do, how you do it, what happens to you, and so on and so forth. It's just horrible. But it's important to begin to have some self-compassion and begin to slowly bring yourself back to you. I always mention it, and I've mentioned it here several times, but you are with you, and that's something I will always say, and it's probably going to become one of my mantras. But you are with you more than anyone else is with you, and that's going to be for the rest of your life. You were born with you, and you will die with you. You have to learn to accept you, learn to love you, learn to be with you. All of those things are so important, because you're never going to be able to get away from you. So now it's important to realize that self-compassion and that self-love is so important in order to accept the fact that it's also time to let go of that self-blame. All of it. And you should feel safe with you, right? It's a safe and supportive environment where you are free to openly discuss your experiences, either with me or with yourself, what you went through. It's a process. So the first book that really details the steps and a few of the things that you can do for each step, you can do them yourself by just following that guideline, that's pretty much what it is. And so, that's what this book is about. The second book that's going to come out is really a detailed form. It literally breaks down, like, step 1, acknowledging past experiences. It breaks it down to the T in, like, I want to say 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1. Like, all the way down. That is a process, and that's for the personal, like, coaching process of it. So there's a workbook for that as well, for those who want to be able to go through that. But yeah, so that's the book that I just wrote. One of the other steps, and I also, in the book, I've also included a page where it's just called personal notes, where you can write personal notes, what you come across, your thoughts, and anything as you go through the process. So I do include a blank page just called personal notes. You just write in there. But yeah, and then you have to go through a process of personal growth. It's extremely important to acknowledge the importance of personal growth, because, again, the transformation process is a whole nother process that is very, very in depth. And so, this is all a preparedness for the change. that you're going to go through. And I'm just going through it a little bit, but I wanted to share that with you all. I'm extremely eager to begin helping more and more victims and, survivors. It is such a passion of mine. And I'm curious, to know if anybody has any experience or any thoughts that they would ever want to share, that, anybody has thoughts on that. I do want to share like where you can find the book if interested, but right now the book is on Apple Books. You can search Empower Mentality, Victim2Victor Transformation Program. You will find it there. Preparing the Mindset to Ignite Change. That's a very, very short, simple, and sweet book. Like I said, 11 pages, nothing crazy, but it does have the steps, and it gives you a few pointers for each step, exactly what to do, And so that's out there. I would wholeheartedly appreciate everybody's support. Please go buy the book. Gift it maybe to somebody that is going through domestic violence. Even if you're not, maybe somebody out there is, or maybe you want to read the book and you want to, go through the steps, and maybe you want to help somebody that that isn't ready for, to encounter the coaching just yet. Coaching is really about getting you from where you are right now to where you want to be. I don't handle the past. Like, I want to say counseling is more about dealing with the pain and the anger and all of that. And I'm at the, after that, pretty much the point of getting you from where you are to where you want to be. And so that's what I'm doing, and helping victims and survivors with that. And I have to say, like, it is, the truth of the matter is, there are great testimonies on this so far. Being able to really help somebody come to terms with such an experience. I did mention, right, where you can find the book on Apple Books. Unfortunately, if you don't have Apple, right now, that's the only place it's at. It's on Apple Books. You could just go to the Apple Store on iPhone or on Mac, if you have a Mac, to get the book. And again, just search Empower Mentality, Victim2Victor Transformation Program, Preparing the Mindset to Ignite Change. And let me see. And yep, that's where you can find it. It's already out. It released yesterday. It's short and sweet, but to the point, step by step. And so that's that. And the second book will be coming out soon. The second book is extremely similar to the first one, right? The second book is just a little bit slightly different as far as color, but it's definitely got the same exact, oh my gosh. The same exact cover picture, but it's a little bit of a different color. And so you'll be able to see what it is. That one is 30-some pages. It's a lot longer. It's more in depth, more detailed. It's coming out soon. I will announce it when it comes out. That is an amazing, amazing book. And that book, I'm not going to ruin it by sharing the part 2 name of it. But yeah, that one's coming out very shortly. And so let me see. I don't know what I did here. But anyhow, so there are some sample pages you can read, before you buy it. I do share my own personal letter, with the victims and survivors, and anybody that reads the book. It's in the book, before the steps. So you're more than welcome to go and, read a couple of sample pages. They're there. I really do look forward to bringing more out for you all. This is such an exciting time for me. I have been extremely busy. For those who know me, man, I literally, I'm always walking around with my laptop, always busy. I work a full-time job, and and on top of that, I've got my laptop with me everywhere I go, and typing my book and working on my book and working on my coaching program and training here and training there, because training never ends. Life is a long is a life life is a long it's a lifelong school. So that's what I'm doing constantly. I'm very busy, and a lot of people, their jaws drop when they hear, like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Yesterday, I think for the first time, I was able to sit back and relax with a few of my friends on Facebook. I've never gone live just to chit chat, but I did that last night for about an hour. It was fun. For those who were with me, thank you. I had a good time. It was nice and chillaxing. Never really do that. And so, yeah. But I don't want to stay on long today. It was supposed to be a pretty short show today. Thank you to everybody who wished my daughter a happy birthday yesterday. She had a great time. And so I am cutting this show short today because we're going to go sing happy birthday again. Yeah. What else was I going to say? Tune in next week, Saturday at 7 p.m. I am live on Facebook and on YouTube, right here on Unleashing Empathetic Conversations, right here on the_empathetic_coach on YouTube. And shout out to my little girl, by the way, who did my makeup today for the show. I think she did a good job. It looks pretty nice. Probably better than I do it. So props to her. And all right, so Saturdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time, whatever you call it. We'll be right here on Unleashing Empathetic Conversations on your favorite YouTube channel. I hope. But anyway, yeah. So go ahead and feel free to please subscribe, like, and share. Somebody out there needs to hear this. Especially if you or somebody you know, or if you know somebody personally, or just a friend that is going through domestic violence, and you want to help them, or have been trying to open up their eyes, or trying to help them or something, please share this with them. Please do. It could change lives, and it can help save lives. So please remember, let me share something else. One more thing. The National Center. Oh, that's different. For Missing and Exploited Children. What I really wanted to share was the Domestic Violence Hotline. Let me share that. So that, I'm going to share it here with you all. Just, it's important to know. But yeah. So the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 24 hours, 7 days a week, in many different languages, English, Spanish, and 200 other languages. 1-800-799-7233. Or you can text START, START, to 88788. Please don't hesitate to use the phone number. Again, 800-799-7233. Or text START to 88788. Please help save a life. Please help free somebody from the control of domestic violence. Silence breeds violence. It's time to break the silence. All right, guys. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate you all. May God bless you all. I will see you here again next week, Saturday at 7 p.m. I may also be doing a Friday show. I'm trying to do Friday because I have a very special guest speaker that I'm bringing on. A very amazing guest speaker, and I can't wait to have him on. I don't know if I should share, but he can only do Fridays. So I might be live on Friday with him. Very special guest speaker. I can't wait to bring him on. Paul Getter. That's his name. I can't wait to bring him on. So he will be on with me either this Friday or the following. Not the following because he's got an event in Miami, but hopefully this Friday. If not, I will have him on soon. Paul Getter, if you're watching, very soon, very soon. I wrote to Mark, so please let me know if you can make it this Friday. And so that's that. And what else? I'm trying to make sure I remember everything to tell you guys. Well, either which way, watch me, follow me on YouTube, subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Liz Jurado, the Empathetic Coach, IG, the Empathetic Coach, or the _empathetic _coach. What else? I'm also on LinkedIn, Liz Jurado, the Empathetic Coach. And that's about it. So I will talk to you guys soon. See you all next week. And again, God bless. Have a great night, guys.